Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, The Stoic Journals, and Ivry. If she gave her body to him without thinking, but made you wait, explain, prove, and chase, it wasn't because you weren't good enough. It's because to her, he felt right, and you felt safe. There's a difference. One moves her body, the other makes her overthink. And no, it's not about looks, money, or status. It's about energy, silent, invisible energy. The way you enter a room, the way you make her feel something before you speak. The man who gets her never begs. The man who gets delayed usually performs. There are two types of men in her world. One is a spark, the other is a seatbelt. She sleeps with the spark because it bypasses her mind. She rejects the seatbelt because it feels too safe, too soft, too expected. You thought you were being respectful, but what she felt was predictable. You texted too often, complimented too early, opened your heart before she even earned a glimpse. That's not attraction, that's exposure. And exposure kills mystery. No mystery, no tension. No tension, no desire. Some men say very little, but something about them stays in your mind. They don't rush to fill silence. They're not afraid of being misunderstood for a moment. They don't need to explain why they are the way they are. You just feel it. Their confidence isn't loud. It's quiet, calm, and deep. It doesn't shout for attention. It holds its ground. You sense that they know who they are, and that's what makes them powerful. These men don't chase approval. They don't overcompensate. They don't perform kindness like it's a transaction. They don't ask questions like they're fishing for praise. They don't try to impress you with words, because they understand something most people don't. The right energy speaks louder than any speech ever could. Women don't always choose the man who gives the best answers. They choose the man who stirs something in them, a feeling, a mystery, a pull they can't explain. She didn't lie awake thinking about his perfect grammar or his polite smile. She remembered how he made her feel without trying. Maybe it was a glance, a certain silence, the way he looked at her and didn't flinch, the way he stood in his truth without needing to be accepted. That kind of presence? You don't get it from books. You don't get it by trying harder. You get it by becoming someone rooted, grounded, real. You stop needing things from people. You stop adjusting who you are just to be liked. You stop performing. That's when something changes in your energy. That's when people feel it, especially women. They feel the strength in your silence, the peace in your stillness, the storm behind your calm. And when she feels that, she doesn't analyze it. She doesn't need time to think about it. She just responds, instinctively, because something inside her recognizes something inside you. Not words, not logic. Something deeper, something primal. And you can't fake that. You can't act like that for long. If it's not real, the mask will fall. But if it is real, you won't have to chase anything. Because what's meant to be drawn in by real presence always finds its way to you. Not because you convinced her, but because she felt you before you even spoke. If she didn't choose you right away, it doesn't mean you were worthless. It doesn't mean you lacked depth, kindness, or potential. It might just mean that you showed too much of yourself too early. You opened all the doors before she even knocked, and instead of feeling drawn to you, she felt surrounded, cornered, even smothered by your availability. You thought that expressing your feelings clearly, showing your loyalty, and being consistent would win her over. So you typed long messages, poured out your intentions, over-explained your emotions. You told her she was special, that you'd wait, that you weren't like the others. But you said all of that before she even asked. And that's the part you didn't see. You didn't realize that giving too much before there's any emotional pull doesn't feel sweet. It feels like pressure. You wanted her to feel safe, but what she felt was overwhelmed. You tried to be emotionally open, but what she saw was someone trying too hard to be accepted. And the harder you tried, the more her mind and heart drifted away. Not because you were wrong, not because you were bad, but because you were too certain, too fast. Attraction doesn't come from comfort alone. It comes from curiosity, from energy, from the space between words. And while you were filling her screen with messages, hoping she'd finally see how much you cared, the man who actually stayed in her mind didn't say much at all. He didn't overthink what to say. He didn't ask for attention. He didn't send paragraphs trying to be understood. He simply existed in a way that made her feel something she couldn't quite name. He didn't try to convince her. He let her wonder. He gave her room to feel, not pressure to decide. And that mystery, that pause, that gap between presence and absence, that's where desire lives. He gave her a moment. You gave her a monologue. He gave her a feeling. You gave her a list. And the truth is, no woman is emotionally moved by a checklist of why you're a good man. She doesn't fall for your resume, falls for how you make her feel, without saying anything at all. She doesn't want to be talked into desire. She wants to be moved into it naturally, unexpectedly, without force. And when there's no room for that mystery, when she already knows how you feel, what you want, what you'll do for her, and how much you're willing to sacrifice, there's no chase. There's no spark. There's no question to answer. Sometimes, she doesn't choose the louder man. She chooses the one whose silence keeps echoing in her mind. You thought showing everything would make you memorable. But in truth, what's too available is often taken for granted. And what's unpredictable, what's slightly out of reach, that's what sticks. That's what haunts her thoughts. That's what she replays in quiet moments. So the next time you're tempted to explain your worth, pause. Let her feel your presence instead. Let her miss you. Let her wonder, who is he really? Because when a woman is curious, she leans in. But when she already knows everything, she scrolls past. Less telling, more presence, less effort to impress, more power in holding your frame. Let her earn your depth. Let her earn your time. Because when she feels she has to figure you out, that's when she starts to feel you in ways that words could never explain. Desire doesn't follow rules. It doesn't follow logic. It doesn't wait for permission. And it doesn't need a reason to exist. It doesn't ask for timing, status, or effort. It doesn't care if you've planned the perfect evening or if you've said all the right words. It doesn't arrive after 6 careful dates or after you've shared your childhood wounds over dinner. It doesn't show up because you've proven you're kind. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It just happens. And that's the part most men don't understand, because they've been taught that desire is something you earn. That if you just stay patient enough, if you just show how consistent and good-hearted you are, she'll eventually feel something. But the truth is, desire is never earned. It's triggered. It strikes in a moment. In the way you look at her and don't flinch. In the way you pause instead of rushing to fill the silence. In the way you don't reach for her, you let her reach for you. That's not performance. That's presence. But the second you start trying to earn desire by being overly available, overly expressive, overly soft, you lose the very spark you're chasing. Not because you're bad, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're moving from effort instead of energy. And desire dies in effort. Effort belongs to problems. Effort is for building houses, fixing engines, and solving equations. Desire isn't built. It's not managed. It's not repaired. It's felt suddenly, deeply, and without explanation. And the most dangerous thing a man can do is confuse approval with attraction. You can be liked, appreciated, even admired, but still not be wanted. Why? because attraction doesn't come from being safe. It comes from being centered, from holding stillness with weight, from not giving everything away the moment someone shows interest. Tension is what makes it real. That space between what's said and what's left unsaid. That mystery between what she sees and what she senses. That moment where she's not sure what will happen next, but something in her wants to find out. Tension doesn't mean playing games. It means being grounded enough not to chase, strong enough not to over-explain, confident enough to let her feel you, not just hear you. Because effort speaks to her mind. But tension? It whispers to her body, to her instincts, to the part of her that doesn't need logic to choose. And the body always speaks first. So stop trying to be the perfect man. The one who does everything right. The one who never says the wrong thing. The one who waits politely and texts paragraphs full of his heart. That man may get applause, but he rarely gets desire. Because she doesn't want a man she can predict. She wants a man who makes her heart skip. A man who makes her feel something wild, something unexplainable, something alive. And that never comes from proving. It comes from being still, being powerful, being rooted in your truth without needing hers to validate it. That's what pulls her in. That's what makes her wonder about you when you're not around. That's what sparks something in her body that her mind can't make sense of. So the next time you think, if I just try a little harder, she'll feel it. Stop, pull back, breathe, and be still. Because the man she remembers is never the one who chased her mind. It's the one who woke up her instincts and made her feel something she couldn't explain, but couldn't ignore. Women don't give themselves to men out of pity. They may say thank you. They may acknowledge your effort. They may even say you're one of the good ones, but they won't desire you out of sympathy, because desire doesn't come from being nice. It doesn't come from being helpful. It doesn't come from making her life easier. Desire is not a reward. It's not a prize for loyalty. It's not something you're given for sticking around when others walked away. Desire isn't polite. It's instinctual. And instincts don't respond to pity. They respond to pull, to tension, to emotional gravity. That pull doesn't come from logic or kindness. It comes from something deeper, something that has no words. She doesn't sit down with a list and think, he did all the right things, I guess I should want him now. That's not how attraction works. She doesn't choose it with her head. She feels it in her body. And the body doesn't respond to strategy. It responds to energy. You being kind isn't the issue. You being thoughtful isn't the problem. But when and how you show up matters. If you come in too fast, before she's even emotionally invested, before she's even curious, before she's felt that magnetic pull toward you, then your kindness feels like pressure, like noise, like someone trying to create a connection that hasn't earned its place yet. It's not that she hates nice guys. It's that too much kindness too soon, without tension, without mystery, without strength, feels like a responsibility, not a thrill, not a spark. You gave her compliments before she even noticed your presence. You gave your time before she asked for it. You gave attention before she earned a moment of your focus. And in her world, that doesn't feel romantic. It feels transactional. It feels like you're saying, look how good I am, now feel something back. But no one wants to feel like they're in emotional debt. And that's what it becomes. Not connection, but quiet guilt. She might keep you around because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings. But she won't crave you. She won't fantasize about you. She won't need to be near you because she knows exactly where you are. Always available, always giving, always trying. And things that are always there, they're easy to take for granted. She doesn't dream about the man who waits with flowers. She dreams about the man who makes her pause, who makes her feel uncertain, who makes her heart race without even touching her. The man she can't figure out right away. The one who doesn't beg for her attention but holds his own. The one who offers warmth but not weakness, kindness but not need, presence but not pressure. Because when a man gives everything, his heart, his time, his energy, his attention, without being asked, without any space for tension to build, he becomes too easy. And what's too easy is rarely valued. Let your kindness be laced with strength. Let your generosity have boundaries. Let your presence be felt, not forced. She should feel that you're kind, but she should also feel that your kindness is a choice, not a cry for validation. She should feel that you're available, but only to the one who earns it, because the man she desires isn't the one who proves himself on day one. It's the one who remains a mystery long enough for her to want to explore him. The one who shows her just enough to feel drawn in, but never so much that there's nothing left to wonder about. So hold back not as a tactic, but as a reflection of your value. Don't pour everything out hoping she'll love you for it. Let her come closer to earn your depth. Let her feel pulled in, not pushed on, because the man she can fully control, she will eventually forget. But the one who moves like a storm just out of reach, that's the one who lives in her mind, long after the others fade. The truth is hard, but it will set you free. She didn't reject you because you had nothing to offer. She didn't walk away because you were lacking value, or kindness, or potential. She walked away because she didn't feel you. Not in her thoughts, not in her checklist of good traits, but in her body, in her gut, in that deep, invisible place where desire begins not with logic, but with feeling. You gave calm before you gave mystery. You gave safety before you gave spark. You gave your heart before she even felt a pulse of curiosity for you. You offered love like an open book, but she hadn't even read the title. She didn't leave because you were wrong for her. She left because you were too available to be compelling, too present to be wondered about, too predictable to be chased. Desire doesn't grow in the presence of complete certainty. It needs contrast. It needs space. It needs a flicker of tension that makes the heart lean forward and ask, what is this feeling, and why do I want more of it? But you didn't give her space to feel that. You gave her everything too early, too fast, too loud. You texted first, and then second, and then again. You explained yourself, clarified your intentions, shared your past, spoke your future. And all of it was sincere. All of it came from a good place. But sincerity, when uninvited, can feel like weight. And weight, no matter how well-meaning, becomes a burden when there's no mutual desire to carry it. You were hoping she would see how rare you are, how loyal, how patient, how ready. But all she saw was someone trying too hard to be chosen before he was even felt. You answered questions she hadn't asked. You showed your soul before she felt your energy. You gave her the ending to a story she never started reading. And without the mystery, there's no reason to stay. No reason to turn the page. No reason to imagine what might be behind your silence, because you filled every moment with noise. You gave her effort, but not impact. You gave her words, but not energy. You gave her presence, but not polarity. And so what should have been magnetic felt heavy. Understand this. People don't run from kindness. They run from pressure. And when your kindness is given in excess, without emotional build-up, it becomes just that pressure. The pressure to reciprocate something she didn't feel yet. The pressure to respond when she's not ready. The pressure to match a level of connection that her heart hasn't caught up to. That's why she backed away. Not because you were too much, but because you were too certain. Certainty kills tension. And without tension, there's no pull, no fire, no reason to chase. She never got to wonder what you were feeling. She never got to miss your presence. She never got to feel the ache of not knowing because you told her everything, gave everything, and waited for her to feel something that you never gave her space to feel. Desire doesn't live in clarity alone. It lives in the spaces between the words, in the pauses, in the subtleties, in the question marks, not the full stops. So don't hate yourself for caring. Don't wish you were colder. Don't regret having a good heart. But do learn this. Timing matters. Energy matters. Mystery matters. Next time, let her feel your presence before she sees your plans. Let her miss you before she knows she has you. Let her want to understand you before you try to explain yourself. Because peace is beautiful. Stability is important. But when there's no fire behind the calm, it becomes forgettable. It becomes background noise. It becomes everything she appreciates but never craves. You weren't too little. You were too soon. And next time, if you carry your stillness with strength, your silence with weight, and your kindness with boundaries, she'll feel it. And when she feels it, she won't walk away wondering if you're good enough. She'll walk away wondering how she can get closer. You don't need to shut down your heart. You don't need to become cold, rude, or manipulative. You don't need to pretend you don't care or fake indifference. You just need to stop giving away your presence like it's cheap. Stop filling every space with explanation, every silence with reassurance, every moment with effort. Because what she needs isn't more of your words. She needs to feel you, not through your explanations, but through your grounded energy. She doesn't want a man who talks endlessly about who he is. She wants to experience who he is by how he moves, how he breathes, how he holds his silence. A man who isn't swayed by her beauty. A man who doesn't trip over himself to be chosen. A man who doesn't feel the need to prove he's different because he knows he is. You don't win her by being louder. You win her by being still. Still, but powerful. Still, but present. Still, but unforgettable. When you pull back, it shouldn't be to manipulate her emotions. It should be to return to your center. To remind yourself of who you are when you're not chasing someone else's validation. You're not here to beg. You're not here to impress. You're not here to perform. You're here to become the kind of man who doesn't need to be explained. The kind of man who walks into a room, says little, and somehow says everything. That is Stoic seduction. It's not technique. It's not charm. It's not lines or tricks. It's the quiet strength of knowing you're enough without having to convince anyone. It's what makes her feel something she can't quite put into words. It's what makes her pause mid-sentence, look at you, and feel pulled in without even understanding why. It's not effort that moves her. It's your energy, the one that says, I don't need to be chosen, but I'm unforgettable if I am. She doesn't fall for men who are merely kind. She falls for men who make her feel a shift, a spark, a presence that lingers long after the conversation ends. Because effort fades, but energy, that stays. And that's why the man who doesn't try to impress leaves the deepest impression. That's why the one who holds back just enough for her to feel the space is the one she dreams about. That's why the quiet man, the calm man, the man rooted in stillness, becomes the one she can't get out of her head. If you want to be remembered, stop performing. Stop adjusting yourself to fit her story. Stop chasing moments that were never meant for you. Instead, anchor yourself. Deepen your breath. Let your presence grow stronger than your words. Let your mystery do what your mouth cannot. Let your silence carry the message. I don't chase, I attract. Because in the end, the man she remembers is not the one who said all the right things. It's the one who made her feel something real without ever needing to say a word. So don't try harder. Be deeper, not louder, not faster, not nicer, deeper. Because the heart doesn't choose what makes the most sense. It chooses what shakes it, what touches something raw, what wakes up something buried. Be that man, the one who doesn't beg to be loved, but becomes impossible to forget. If this message hit something deep in you, if it made you stop, sit back, and see things more clearly than you ever have before, then don't just watch, engage. Like this video so this truth reaches someone else who's been stuck in the same cycle. Comment below what line shook you awake, and what you now realize has to change in the way you carry yourself, your presence, your energy. Because, let's be honest, too many good men are wasting their power chasing women who already made up their minds. They're sending paragraph after paragraph, checking read receipts like it's their heartbeat, trying to say the right thing, when words aren't the problem. Their energy is. If you've got a brother, a friend, a man in your circle who's still overthinking every emoji, still waiting for her to reply like his value depends on it, send this to him, not to shame him, but to wake him up. Remind him, he wasn't born to be an option. He wasn't made to audition. He wasn't created to wait around for someone who already felt nothing. He is not here to win her over. He's here to remember who he is. We're not here to beg for love. We're not here to dance for attention. We're not here to play the clown in someone else's circus just to feel noticed. We're here to build fire. The kind that makes her stop mid-conversation because she feels something shift in the room. The kind that stays in her memory, not because of what we said, but because of how we made her feel when we said nothing. We're here to become the presence she never saw coming, but can't seem to forget. So if you've been overextending, over-explaining, over-giving, let this be your wake-up call. Reclaim your silence. Reclaim your space. Reclaim your value. Let your stillness carry strength. Let your mystery create motion. Let your energy speak before your mouth ever does. And if this message was that turning point for you, let it be the same for someone else. Like, comment, share. Help shift a generation of men from chasing women to becoming the kind of men women chase. Because once you stop begging to be chosen, you start choosing yourself. And when that happens, she feels it. The world feels it. You feel it. And that's when everything changes.